What would you do if the person you gave everything to looked you in the eyes and asked you to share them?
You have to understand that this is simply how things work, and quite frankly, there is no reason for us to complicate a situation that is already so perfectly clear.
Not with you, with someone else. Ife had been a faithful wife for 5 years.
Another year older and even more successful than before. I have everything I need right here, and the best is truly yet to come for me.
5 years of sacrifice, 5 years of loyalty, 5 years of being everything a good wife is supposed to be. And on one ordinary evening, her husband Kola sat her down and tore her world apart with 3 words: open the marriage. He expected tears, he expected begging, he expected her to fall apart. What he did not expect was a woman who simply said, okay, and then walked away. Stay with me, because by the time this story is over, you will understand why Ife's calmness was not weakness. It was the beginning of the most powerful exit you have ever witnessed. Welcome back to Tales by RM, the home of stories that shake you, move you, and remind you of who you really are. If you are new here, please subscribe right now and hit that notification bell, because we drop stories that will stay with you long after the video ends. Now, let us get into today's story. It was a Tuesday evening. Nothing special about it, just another day where the sun went down and life moved on as it always does. Ife had been on her feet since before dawn. She had worked, she had cooked, she had prayed, she had done everything a woman in love does without being asked. And as she pushed open the front door of the home she had built alongside her husband, she expected nothing more than a quiet evening. But Kola was already seated, waiting. And when a man is sitting down and waiting for his wife to come through the door, nothing good ever follows. He said he had something important to discuss. Ife sat down, still in her work clothes, still carrying the exhaustion of the day on her shoulders, and she listened. And then Kola opened his mouth. He said he wanted to spice things up. He said he needed more excitement, more freedom, more options. He told Ife he wanted to open their marriage, that he would be free to see other women, and that she was equally free to see other men. Just let that sit for a second. This man, this husband, after 5 years of marriage, after 5 years of this woman's loyalty and love and sacrifice, sat down and asked her to share him. Now, Kola was expecting a scene. He had mentally rehearsed it. He expected Ife to cry, to scream, to grab him by the collar and beg him to reconsider. He expected drama. She looked at him for what felt like forever, and then, in the calmest voice you have ever heard a woman use, she said, okay, and she walked to their bedroom, and she closed the door. Kola sat in that living room alone, completely unprepared for what had just happened. He thought he had won. He had no idea that the woman behind that closed door was already planning her freedom.
Here is where the story begins to shift. Because Kola had made one very dangerous mistake. He assumed that when he opened that door, he was the only one who would walk through it. He was wrong. In the days that followed, something began to happen in their house. Something quiet at first, like the first notes of a song you can't quite name yet. Ife started changing. She started dressing differently, elegantly. She started going out in the evenings. She started coming home with light in her eyes. She was glowing, actually glowing, the kind of glow that doesn't come from makeup. It comes from a woman who suddenly remembers who she is. And Kola watched all of this from across the house. At first, he told himself it didn't matter. He was the one who suggested it after all. But as the nights went on, Kola couldn't sleep. He would lie in bed, restless, staring at the ceiling. asking himself questions he had no answers to. Where was she going? Who was making her laugh like that? Why did she look more beautiful now than she had in years? This was not what he had planned. He had imagined that the freedom would be his, that Ife would stay home, waiting, hurting, desperate for him to come back. But Ife wasn't waiting for anyone. She was leaving.
Now, Kola decided he needed to remind himself why he had done all of this. He had his eye on someone, a colleague named Ivory. Sharp, attractive, the kind of woman who makes a foolish man forget himself. So Kola straightened his tie and went to work on his charm. He started sending messages, making conversation, positioning himself as available, as interesting, as a man worth pursuing. Oh, Kola. Ivory wasn't interested, but she was curious about one thing. She looked at Kola and she said, "Does your wife know you're doing this?" Kola, feeling proud of himself, nodded. He told her if he had agreed. He said it like he was a flex, like he had done something clever. Ivory stared at him, and then she said, "I'm in a committed relationship. I'm in one with someone abroad. I'm not interested. Ayo." And just like that, Kola was rejected by the very woman he had blown up his marriage to pursue. He went home that evening with his ego bruised and his chest heavy. And as he walked through the front door, he heard something that cut deeper than any rejection. Ife was laughing on the phone. That deep, unguarded kind of laughter that a woman only has when she's truly happy. Kola stood in the hallway and listened to his wife's joy, and he felt nothing but emptiness. Hey, before we continue, I need you to do something for me right now. If you are watching this and you can feel this story in your chest, please drop a like on this video right now. It takes 2 seconds and it tells the YouTube algorithm to push this story to more people who need to hear it. And if you are not subscribed to Tales by Irem yet, what are you doing? Subscribe. We are a family here. Now, let us get back to Ife because things are about to get very, very interesting. Kola decided to escalate. If Ife would not react to his words, maybe she would react to action. So he did something that crossed every line a man can cross inside a marriage. He brought a woman named Clara into their home. Not just into the house, into the master bedroom. The room where he and Ife had slept. The room where they had whispered promises to each other. He moved Clara in there like it meant nothing. And to make sure Ife felt every bit of it, he held Clara's hand in front of her. He walked through the house, touching Clara, laughing with Clara, always glancing toward Ife to see if she was watching, waiting for the moment she would finally break. But Ife simply looked at Clara, greeted her politely like the woman she is, quietly gathered her own things from the master bedroom, and moved herself into the guest room. Without a single tear, without a single argument. She was not defeated. She was done. And Kola kept performing. He kept staging his happiness for an audience of one. But Ife had stopped watching the show. Excuse me. She had her own story to write now. Then came Ife's birthday. Now listen to me. A birthday is not just a day. For a woman who has given 5 years of her life to a man, a birthday is a moment of reckoning. It is a test. And Kola failed it spectacularly. He ignored Ife completely. Not just a small ignorance, a deliberate theatrical, ugly ignorance. He bought Clara lavish gifts. Beautiful things, expensive things, and he left them where Ife could see them, like a man who has lost his mind. That evening, Ife came home, happy, with a brand new luxury car, with a red ribbon on the hood. She stepped out of that car like a woman who had been reborn, walking into that house like she owned every inch of the air around her. She handed Kola a birthday cake and an envelope. Inside the envelope was a letter. In the letter, Ife thanked him. She thanked him for opening the marriage. She said that his decision had given her the one thing she had never given herself: permission. Permission to find someone who truly valued her. Permission to stop settling. Permission to live. Kola stood there holding that letter. For the first time in months, he had absolutely nothing to say. Then Ife told him she was marrying someone else, the son of a wealthy oil tycoon, a man who had seen her worth from the first moment he looked at her, a man who bought her cars with red ribbons on her birthday. And then she placed something in Kola's hands, a wedding invitation. Her wedding invitation. Kola's mouth fell open. He tried to say something about their marriage, about her obligation, about what she owed him. But Ife calmly reminded him of something he had so cleverly arranged himself. He had insisted on a traditional marriage only. He had deliberately avoided any legal documentation. He had kept things informal to keep his options open. So Ife's family was simply returning her bride price. Everything was in order. Everything was legal. Everything was done. The trap he had set for her had become the door she walked out of. Happy, Ife packed her bags, calmly, methodically, like a woman who had been ready for this moment for a long, long time. She walked out of that house as a free woman. She did not look back. And Kola, in his pain and humiliation, he tried to blame Clara. He said she had distracted him, that this was her fault, that she had ruined everything. Clara looked at him and she laughed. She told him exactly what she thought of a man foolish enough to destroy a real woman for nothing. And then she left too. Kola sat alone in his house, in the silence he had created, with nothing but the echo of his own choices surrounding him. There is a lesson in this story, and it is not just for men. It is for anyone who has ever undervalued someone good because they were too busy chasing something empty. Ife never begged. She never chased. She never lowered herself to prove her worth. She simply accepted the door that Kola opened and she walked through it into something better, into something real. And Kola learned the hardest truth a man can ever learn: that loyalty is rare, that a good woman is not a guarantee, and that some exits cannot be undone. And that, my beautiful people, is the story of Ife and Kola. If this story touched something in you today, I need you to show it. Like this video, share it with somebody who needs to hear it, and drop a comment down below. Tell me, did Ife do the right thing, or should she have fought harder for her marriage? I want to hear your voice on this. And if you are not yet part of the Tales by RM family, subscribe right now, because we have more stories. Stories about love, about betrayal, about women who rise, about the kind of truth that makes you feel something in your bones. I am your host. And until next time, know your worth and never let anyone make you forget it. God bless you. Tales by RM. See you in the next one.